Hello and welcome to Homestead Dreamers. My name is Elena. You may recognize me from another channel, but if not, it's so great to have you here and it's so nice to meet you. This channel is new and my fiance Alex and I are going to be documenting our entire journey of building a homestead from scratch. This has been something that I've been thinking about for a really long time and something that I want to share a lot more about. We're currently in the process of self-building our own home, and I initially thought that I was going to wait to start this channel until we were fully moved in there. But as I started thinking about it more, I thought about how I'm always encouraging people to start their homestead dreams before they even have a piece of land. And so for me, it makes sense to start this channel now. We are currently living in an RV and our homestead is in a very disheveled state. So I thought that this would be a great time to give you a tour of our land and show you some of the things that we're growing right now, even though it's winter. So as I mentioned, we are currently living in an RV. It's a pretty small space, but there's only two of us and we have a dog named Georgie, which I'll introduce you to him as well. So it works perfect for what we need. And behind me on this side is the house that we are self-building. We currently are at the stage where we have the entire exterior done and we're now working on HVAC, and then we'll move on to insulation and drywall. You're not going to see any of that building stuff on this page because this is going to be focused on homesteading stuff. So I'm talking everything from gardening, raising chickens, to homemaking things, preserving food. All of those things are things that I'm personally really passionate about and I want to share more about, and I'm hoping to find a community here of people with those similar interests. We purchased our property in 2020 and we spent most of 2021 preparing the land to build our future home. And part of preparing the land was also clearing enough land so that we would have enough space for the homesteading things we wanted to do. It's super foggy today, but you can still get an idea of how we cleared some of the land. So it's cleared all the way down. Our driveway starts around there. This part here is flattened for a future house addition. What we're building right now is a garage with an apartment on top. But if you can see that tree line right there, it's cleared all the way to there. Those trees are about 300 feet from me, so there's a lot of land over there that's cleared. We cleared a little bit less than an acre, and then this back area here also has a clearing, and over here you'll see where we started a few garden beds. We had a huge storm hit us in August. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of really old mature trees, and I didn't really want to just burn all of those materials. So what we did is collected a lot of these sticks to build what are called wattle beds. So behind me you can see one of the finished wattle beds. Essentially what we did is we drove stakes into the ground that we made out of wood, and then we weaved branches around that wood to make these beds. Now we didn't fill these with soil yet because we did this at the end of fall and there was no reason that we would need it filled with soil right away since winter was on the way. We also didn't want things to start kind of decomposing the outside structure over the winter. This is probably only going to last us a couple of years. Here's how it turned out. I think it looks beautiful and magical. We used a mixture of hickory and maple branches in order to make this. It was a little bit challenging at times, but for the most part, it worked pretty well. I think typically when you make any type of wattle structure, you're supposed to use like willow branches or something like that, but it worked out really well. And like I said, we are going to fill this with soil in the spring. We plan to use a method of planting where you layer things at the bottom and then you put soil on top. So right now, you can see that we've already dumped some leaves and some sticks in here. We'll put more of those in there and then we'll layer it with soil on top. I should mention that I have previous gardening experience. I have been gardening at my fiance Alex's mom's house for several years now. I think it's been about 5 years. And so I do have some experience with actually growing things, and I'm hoping to implement everything that I've learned here at the new property, but I do plan to continue growing there at his mom's place this coming season since I don't have all that infrastructure set up here. Now, this will be my first time growing in a wooded environment. I'm sure I'm going to be dealing with a lot of deer and squirrel, which I have not dealt with in the past. So this year in this wattle bed, I'm planning to just grow deer resistant flowers, maybe some herbs, but I'm not going to do any vegetables because we still have a lot going on with our house and I don't want to put any extra pressure on myself to learn how to grow with mammals as pests. So I've typically only dealt with insects, and I think we're going to need some fencing infrastructure to keep the deer out. Right now it's kind of raining. I can't tell if it's raining or it's just the fact that we have fog and the clouds are so low. But now I'm going to show you our compost bin, and by bin I mean pile. So this was one of the first things that we started when we moved into this RV on our property. We really care about reducing our waste, and that's part of one of the main reasons why we are on this homesteading journey, is to reduce our waste. So we have this fancy little compost pile and it works out really, really well for us. There might be some mammals that come and check out this pile at night, but we have not had any issues. I definitely hear fox in the distance. I've seen groundhogs, so they're probably snacking on some of this stuff, but this just goes to show you that you don't need something fancy to compost. So this pile is primarily made up of sticks, leaves, and then our food scraps. We did get some coffee grounds for another project from Starbucks, so that's why there's this huge pile of coffee grounds there. The nice thing about it being in a pile is that we can use our skid steer to stir this. Also, I definitely want to let our chickens scratch around in this once we move them here. Our chickens are also at Alex's mom's place. So once they get here, they're definitely going to help us with this compost pile. Right now, everything on our homestead is kind of really spread out from one another. This is something that I definitely want to improve upon whenever we start adding more infrastructure. I want to make sure everything is really close together so that it makes it easier for us to store equipment, to just do tasks and kind of be all in one area. So for example, if my compost bin is super far away from my garden, it's really inconvenient to take that composted soil and put it in my garden. I'm hoping to use concepts of permaculture and kind of put everything in one place, including our laying hens, and kind of let everything work together in an ecosystem. I don't know if you can see this super well, but I'll get closer here. We have started a couple of fruit trees. We planted these about a year and a few months ago. And so we have 2 pear varieties and 2 apple varieties. I believe those 2 over there, which I can't even see them really with this fog, there's fences around them. Those are pear varieties, and these ones are apple varieties. Luckily, we have not had any issues with the deer getting to them yet. We just had a lot of weeds growing around this area, so I need to do a better job of cleaning that up next year. We just made these like little cages around each of them, and that has seemed to help with keeping the deer out. This is my first time growing any sort of fruit tree, so this is definitely going to be a huge learning experience for me. I know that we need to prune them. I don't know when we need to prune them, and I also know that we need to keep an eye out for pests. What those pests are, I'm not sure. This is a big gray area, and I'm sure I'll share that journey as I learn more. The trees that we planted are from Stark Bros. They are bare root trees. I'll put a link below to the varieties that we planted here. We also planted about 9 trees at Alex's mom's house. We figured that she also likes fruit, so we were like, okay, well, we'll plant some trees here, some there, and we're planning to add to our little orchard here each year. So it will be fun to see it grow. We'll probably add some cherry trees and maybe some peaches or plum. But I'm really excited because we eat a lot of fruit. So that's just a bit of an overview of some of the things that we currently have started on our homestead. It's not much, but it's definitely something, and it makes my heart happy. And I'm thankful that Alex has helped me get some of those things started, because I know it's primarily my passion, but he's definitely on board with a lot of the homesteading things. It's just right now his focus is on building our house, which I don't know if you can see in this frame, but we don't even have front steps here. We don't even have a driveway yet, but we love this house. It's been our life for the past couple of years. But with that being said, as soon as we're done with this house, we are going to put a lot of energy into the infrastructure of our homestead. And another thing that I really want to do on our homestead is plant a lot of native trees and shrubs to help the ecosystem. So I want to support not only large mammals, but also birds and provide them food in the winter and all of those sorts of things. So it's going to be a fun project. It's going to take a lot of time and patience, but I'm excited to get started. For example, I already purchased some hybrid holly varieties to plant so that we have some greenery to cut from and make holiday decorations. These are currently in the pots that I purchased them in. My plan is to plant them somewhere in the spring. These are a bush variety, so they will stay relatively small, but I think if you let them, they can grow up to 8 feet. So I'm excited about that, but those are really the only shrubs or trees that I've purchased. Our county actually has a program where you can order trees for free through the county. They have like a native tree program where in the summer you can give them a list of all of the trees that you're interested in. They'll come out to your site and do a site visit just to kind of verify that you are legit, maybe to make sure you're not going to like resell the trees or something. They'll come to your site, you can ask them questions, get their feedback on where you're planning to plant things, and then in the fall you pick up those trees and you plant them. And granted, they are pretty small trees. They're probably only 3 years old, so they're only a couple feet tall. But if you're on a budget and you want native plants on your property, it's a great way to do it. So that's something that we're definitely going to take advantage of probably this summer. So we'll put in our requests for plants and then we'll plant those in the fall. Like I mentioned, our homestead is in the very beginning stages, and I really just wanted to start this channel so that I could connect with other like-minded individuals who are interested in self-sufficiency and sustainability, and to kind of share every step of that journey together. So if you're watching this and you've made it this far in the video, I would love if you commented below and just told me your name, where you're from, maybe some of your goals for 2024, or maybe even some of your long-term dreams for homesteading. That just makes my heart so happy and so excited, and I love having those conversations and just sharing about our dreams and our goals. And that's a lot of why we called this channel Homestead Dreamers, because we are dreamers and we believe that anything is possible if you set your mind to it. You really do have to put in hard work sometimes to make those things happen, but with some hard work, dedication, support from loved ones or family and friends, you can make a lot of things happen. So I hope for you on your own journey that you know that anything is truly possible. You just may have to put in some work. And if you can surround yourself with like-minded people or find a couple local homesteaders to help along the way, it makes the journey a lot more enjoyable. With that, I'm going to show you what I currently have growing and some of the other things I've planned to grow this winter. So the first project I am currently working on is growing mushrooms, which is my first time ever growing these. These are a variety called oyster mushrooms. You can actually buy spawn online, which is what you use to grow mushrooms from. Alex and I prepared the substrate, mixed the spawn with the substrate, and now they are just to the point where they are probably going to start fruiting, which is really exciting. Let's go check it out. It's a little dark in here because we don't have electricity yet, but we do have some temporary lights rigged up places, and I'm going to introduce you to Alex. All right, Alex, say hello.
Hello. Hi. It's a little bit dark.
It's a little dark. So Alex is the other half of Homestead Dreamers, and you'll see more of him. If you follow our other channel, you definitely will recognize Alex. Let's go and check out those mushrooms. This is our little makeshift setup for growing our mushrooms. They're at the fruiting stage, so they need natural light, which they are getting from our garage doors here. And then they also need a lot of humidity. These clear things on top are humidity domes. Humidity domes are great for keeping moisture inside of your growing area. So a lot of times people use those for seed starting. Sometimes people use them for propagating other plants. And in this case, we are using them for mushrooms. You can see within this container, there is like a white mat at the bottom of this tray. That is mycelium. So that is the first stage. The mushrooms grow mycelium and then they start pinning and growing their little mushrooms. Now they are starting the pinning phase, and that should take, I think, about a week or so. Okay, so I'm just gonna open this really quickly. The white fuzzy stuff is mycelium. The discoloration spots are where the mushrooms are starting to pin. It's really important to try to keep the area as clean as possible because you can contaminate it with other fungi or bacteria. So we try to keep these closed. We give them some fresh air each day by just fanning those humidity domes over top of it. But other than that, we do not touch these. I'll keep you updated on how that goes. It's our first time doing it, so we're hoping that nothing gets contaminated and that we have mushrooms that we're able to harvest. But for now, let's head back outside where the lighting is a little bit better, and we are gonna get started on the next growing project. This is something you can easily do at home, and I'm really excited to share it with you. The next growing project I have going on is growing some alfalfa sprouts. This is something super easy that you can do at home. You don't need any space to do this, but it's a way to get some fresh greens in your diet in the winter season. These specific seeds are from High Mowing Organic Seeds. I'll link them below, but you can also buy them at Mom's Organic Market. So if you have one of those nearby you could pick them up there. They may be available in other retail stores, but that's the one store I'm familiar with. What you do, you need these seeds, and then you also need a container that has some holes on it. The first step is getting our tablespoon of seeds into our little container. And for me, I'm using a container that I have for like a NutriBullet kind of thing, but there are also lids that are made to go on top of a mason jar, and those are available on High Mowing Organic Seeds website. So I'll throw a link to that below too, so that you can easily find that. But this is, like I said, an easy way to get greens in your diet. It's great to put on sandwiches, in stir fries, in salads, and it's just a fun kind of experiment. I can see this being really fun for kids too, because they get to see something grow over a period of like 8 days, which is pretty quick when we're talking about growing things. So I have my 1 tablespoon, and then it says we're gonna add 2 cups of fresh water. We have to fill up these water jugs from our well water inside. The hookups for our RV are through a garden hose, and so the garden hose is pretty old and we don't trust it, so we don't drink directly out of that. But our well water is pretty good. Plan to test that in the near future and see if we need any filtration for that. So we have our 2 cups. We're gonna let this sit for 8 hours before we do anything. Then we are going to drain out the water, rinse those seeds, drain out the water, and then we're gonna set this upside down at an angle so that they can continue to drain. And we're gonna do that about every 8 to 12 hours for a period of 4 to 5 days. And by that point, we should have a lot of sprouts growing in this, and then we can put them in indirect sunlight to turn them green, and then they are ready to eat. So like I said, this is really fun because it's quick, easy. You have sprouts ready within a week, and it's probably something really fun for kids to do too. Thank you so much for joining me in my first video on my new channel, Homestead Dreamers. I'm so happy that you are here. I hope that you continue to follow along as we learn new skills together and we build out our homestead, and hopefully you can work on some of your own homestead dreams as well. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.